All right, let's talk about Greece. So the Mediterranean diet has been very, very popular, and it's probably been over a decade now that it comes in and out of popularity. The Mediterranean diet is actually, if I had to pick one, that would probably be what I eat the most. But I don't really follow a diet. I think it's silly for me. I mean, to each their own, as long as it doesn't become an obsession and you're getting everything that you need and you have a healthy relationship with food, cool. And your sole purpose is not to meet a particular aesthetic, cool. I digress. So the Mediterranean diet is something that's very, very popular. And as we look at this pie chart here, we can see that there's a little bit more balance in the different types of foods that are eaten. Still, lots of vegetables. 17% of vegetables are greens, and then 20% of the total number of vegetables are other. So lots of vegetables. We're getting 16% fruits, and then we break down to 11% legumes, 9% potatoes, and we get into oils and fishes and pastas and meats and sweets and all these other things. But yes, I said fishes. The vegetable focus with fruits, legumes, fats, and natural sources of starch, not like lab created starch, like potatoes. All of those, the access to fats in the Mediterranean diet is something that I tend to gravitate toward because of my personal nutrition needs. But in this particular area, in Ikaria, which I'm probably pronouncing that very poorly, I tried to find a solid answer and I couldn't find one. It's the focus is on a variety of foods, and very hearty meals. And actually, the foods that I decided to make were pretty simple, and they actually have been around for centuries. And one of them is actually, I think it's called the farmer salad or the peasant salad, or there's several different names for it, but that was the one that popped up the most. But a focus in this area is napping, and then they're occasionally allowed to drink goat's milk, allowed, but resting and enjoying dairy. If your body needs it and if you enjoy it, and it's not if you're not lactose intolerant, it's okay to enjoy some dairy. It's fine. Obviously, the less processed it is, the cleaner the sourcing is, the more benefit it's going to have for your body. But access. So don't beat yourself up about those kind of things, but understand that the more nutrients you get, the better you feel, generally speaking. The more nutrients you get, the better you feel. And then the better you feel, the less you worry about how bad you feel. And the better your mental health can be. And then it goes the other way also. The better your mental health is, the better your body starts to feel. And a lot of this has to do with what foods we put in. Now, Ikaria, Greece is not specifically the Mediterranean diet. It's a blue zone. It's its own thing. But it definitely follows, it follows the pattern of a Mediterranean diet with a little bit less fat, because I feel like Mediterranean and keto they got overlapped in the social media world. And there are a lot of people talking about a lot of things that they don't understand. So the amount of fats that are allowed are a little bit different in this area, and the leniency with a little bit of dairy, and then napping, having wine with some friends. These are all really, really socially based things. Because what I really liked about the foods that I chose, the peasant salad, is that it really tells a story that a lot of different populations, foods have been telling for centuries. The people who get treated worst in the society, and I promise this has to do with nutrition and mental health and overall well-being, the people who get treated worst in societies end up creating things like delicious foods or foods that are high in nutrient density to keep them alive because they don't have access to other things. And it almost becomes this art form. And then it becomes this cultural dish that gets passed down. And despite the horrendous circumstances that have pushed people to these extremes, Southern soul food, it's black cooking. That's what it is. Just like this, a lot of Italian dishes as well. A lot of Greek dishes are from the peasants at the time, which I'm sure that word is problematic in several ways, but that's what it's called, as a peasant salad, because the people who were labeled as such in that time frame, they're the ones who invented it. They had access to all of the foods. They knew how to cook, like they had all of these skills, and they turned something that was supposed to be this really bad scenario for them into something that has withstood like the test of time. So it's not a matter of saying that this horrible thing created something beautiful. It's a matter of saying, despite this horrible thing, these people created something beautiful. And I think we can take a similar approach to the way that we approach our mental health and our food habits and things like that as well. Because I'll use myself as an example, so I'm not talking for anybody else, and because I think it'll be the easiest way to explain this. So me, I've experienced both just disordered eating and then actual diagnosed and diagnosable eating disorders for like over a decade of my life, which is part of a small part. I've always loved food. I've always loved culture. I've always loved cooking. I just wasn't always allowed to embrace those things. And part of healing for me was taking a really crappy circumstance and then turning it into something that I absolutely loved to do, which is eat, cook, share meals with people, talk about the cultures around the foods that we're eating, share that with other people, and then help other people so they don't end up feeling like I felt during the whole disordered eating disorders phase. And part of that healing for me is just truly leaning into the fact that I love food, and I shouldn't be ashamed of that, even though sometimes I still struggle. So whatever that means for you, whatever that joy, that healing, whatever brings you that like excitement about food and your mental health and how the two of those overlap, find that little sweet spot for you and lean into it, because it's not going to be the same as me. It might be, but it's going to be your version of that. Even if it is the same thing, it's still going to be yours, because we don't have to fit into these nice, neat little categories, and we don't have to like the things that other people like. And if we start to extract the concepts, like we've been talking about, if we start to extract the concepts and we apply them to our own lives, they work a lot better than if I said, here, this applies to me, now apply it to you. And you try to apply it to you and it doesn't do you any good. It's because it's not yours, it's mine. Same way if you handed me your little bucket of things that you needed. Here, apply this to your life. And then I tried it. I'm going to have too much of something. I'm going to have not enough of something else. Same for you. The same goes for food and our approach to it and our mindset around it. And I think being able to really embrace these things that have lasted for so long is part of the beauty of understanding these blue zones and how it's so much deeper than just food. It's not just a diet. Because when we look at these circumstances that these people had, and then how they came up with these delicious foods that have been shared for centuries and through generations and now across the globe. Like, I'm making a YouTube video based on a book, several books, several articles, a docu-series, and decades of research. And these people have been around, these people's families have been around for generations in this area doing these things. And now we're talking about it on the other side of the globe. I think that's just so amazing. And I think it should be inspiring to us to know that just because we've been presented with one line of thinking our whole lives, or just because something is trending currently, doesn't mean that that's the only answer. We can create goodness out of lack of resources. We can create a safe, healthy, fun, inclusive space around food instead of shame and stigma and moral value. So there's so much that we can learn from these places that aren't just food-based. Because when we look at our nutrition, absolutely, there's so much science that goes into it. So much. But what we don't talk about enough is how much experience goes into it and how much we need positive experiences with food and reinforcement that it's okay to eat. We don't have to earn our food, and that we don't have to have lots of money. That good quality, nutritious foods aren't inherently expensive. Now, everything's expensive right now, but comparatively, your healthy food does not have to be fancy to be healthy. Your healthy food doesn't have to be a luxury or a designer anything in order to be good for you. Literally, something off that's called a peasant's salad is a perfectly wonderful dish to add to a Blue Zones cookbook or a YouTube video. Whatever it is, find a way to make it work for you in ways that are feasible and sustainable in your life. What's your version of a peasant salad? Colonel has thoughts. Do you like peasant salads, buddy? You're a good boy. Sharing food with people and animals that you love. I'm sure some Greek peasants did that at some point along the way, right? It seems normal. So yeah, what's your version of a peasant salad? What is something that you like to do to contribute to your health and well-being and lifestyle and community that isn't seen as glamorous or trending or luxurious or whatever, but it makes you feel good? Find that thing. Do more of that thing.